All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 7:09, 8 p.m. So we'll start with roll call.
Yes. Curdy.
Here.
Moore. Here. Spurlock.
Here.
Kinhall.
Here.
Ross Stribbin. Here. Hurt Johnson. Here. Kim.
Here.
Meeting called to order at 7:09 p.m.
We will start with D97 Joy.
Just for the record, we do not have any public comment tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Was that part of G97 Joy?
We have a lot, we might not have a public comment, but we have a lot of public, so welcome to everyone. This is why we are, why we're sitting up here. So thanks for everyone for being here. This first section of our agenda is called hashtag D97 Joy, and so we'd like to begin. First, we're just concluding Principal Appreciation Week, and so we're fortunate to have 2 principals in the room and 8 more principals in our district that we celebrate. So let me hand it over to Michael to show this video to appreciate all of them. What an honor to celebrate principals and assistant principals here in District 97 during this Appreciation Week. Principals and assistant principals have complex roles. They're creating culture in their buildings, they're making sure buildings are operationally sound, they're designing, learning, and building systems to make sure we have great instruction every day. What you're going to hear in this video is what our students see and members of the community, what they see, which is warmth, connection, people who create a sense of community. Thank you, principals and assistant principals, for what you do every day. We see and celebrate you.
I really appreciate how she takes care of the school, and when she walks around, she always greets other children or teachers, no matter what. The queen of the school.
I love you guys because I like to learn. I love you guys because you make learning easy and fun. I love you guys just because. I love you guys because you guys are really funny and you help me do Thank you, Miss Mira, for doing the announcements. Thank you, Miss Simmons, for being on recess patrol.
I appreciate you because I think that Miss Gordon all the time comes into different classrooms and starts talking to us and observing our classroom. And normally when we're caught up in work or something, she'll randomly talk to a different student and ask questions. And sometimes I get to express what I couldn't say when I raised my hand because somebody else is called on. And so it's really cool that I get to share that with somebody, and it's also really fun just seeing you guys around the building.
Happy Teacher Appreciation Day, Miss Hughes. And thank you for everything what you did, helping the kids getting up when they're hurt. And I appreciate that for supervising outside, and thank you.
Happy Principal Appreciation Month. Dear Ms. Harris and Ms. Jefferson.
We think you're a great principal because you guys have great leadership skills and you're a very good listener.
You are also helpful and pay attention to small things.
We appreciate you because you make some of the best choices in this
and you're the best of the principals we've ever seen.
I would like to talk about how much Miss Love is the best principal in the entire universe. She makes sure everyone is safe. She makes sure there's no bullying or fighting in any classroom or outside the building or outside the classroom. And I would love to see Miss Love one more time, just real quick.
Well, I think Ms. Klein is a good assistant principal. She will help with people. She'll also with behaviors, and she helps sports teams with other stuff.
My name is Claire, and I think that Mr. Bland is a good principal because he always makes sure that we're doing what we're told, and it's very helpful for being in the hallways. It gets crowded, but he always makes sure we're where we're supposed to go.
Thank you, Ms. Caputo, for being a great principal and also
Thank you, Mr. Christian, for being the best principal and making this school year fun.
Thank you, Mr. Christian, for being the best principal in the whole of District 97, and we love you.
I wanted to say thank you to all three of our APs, Mr. Lee, Ms. Thomas, and Ms. Carr, for always being there for all of us.
So I love that Principal Caputer distributes her leadership so much that the students think that all of them are principals, right? So, and I will also say that we referenced the principals and the assistant principals, but so that's always a good thing to do. But we do have an assistant principals week in April, so we will be also celebrating assistant principals during their own week, and so we thank all of them for their leadership, and glad to have both of you here today as well. So that leads us to our second hashtag D97Joy, which is to honor student athletes that are here. And so we do have some certificates for you, and want to recognize that what we are celebrating here, and the reason we want to make space and begin to make sure that this is a place where we honor the kind of accomplishment that you all represent, is because we are a place that values the holistic development of young people and recognizes that all of the extracurricular experiences that you have, what you learned from being on that team, how you worked through things, how you were persistent, how you came together, how you built a sense of community, how you represented the district, your school, in a state, how you found a group of young people in the state of Illinois that shares an interest with you. All of that is an important part of you becoming who we can't wait to see you become. And so with that, here's a video, and then after the video, I'm going to ask the students to line up right here against over there by the wall, and then we have some certificates for you, so I'll give you some more instructions about that in a minute, but here's the video.
I really feel you just need dedication and just need to set your mind to goals and build up from those goals to keep bettering yourself as an athlete. And I really feel that that could translate to your student work or other lives later, or other jobs later on, if you just keep setting goals and working towards them to improve.
I think it really,
it's hard practicing, and you have to like stay at it, and even on the off season you have to keep running, or like you're gonna get out of shape. So I think it like shows how you really have to work hard at things.
Yeah, and like throughout life, it's always a good skill to like have like endurance and like be able to like, you know, stay in shape. It's like that's a skill throughout life. So like early on and like having all this experience with like cross country and like going to state, like it's like a big deal, and like throughout the rest of my life, running will be with me.
Because then I get to learn how to be around people and like for them to help me out, be better, and for me to help them to be better. And it makes you way better to have like a team to support you and for you to support them and to like help you get through stuff.
I feel like it helped me a lot with like mental perseverance and just like sticking with something even though it's like hard, like later on in life. I feel like that will help me.
And just like kind of reminds you, like even though you're running alone, like it's not just you. Like you have a whole team, and you have like you're representing like the school. And like when I come back, like I'm telling not just like it's not just me and my family who knows who I did. It's like everyone. And then like bringing home the medal, it's not just like me. It's like the whole school.
Yeah, I've made so many new friends during cross country that I now see outside of school as well, which is really fun. It's also made me love running more and want to do it voluntarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it really gives them like the confidence to not only like excel in sports, but also when they're in class. I see him helping other students, and I see like a lot of the cross country students, like they all are in there together, and so they really like motivate each other. And even if, you know, someone's like a little slower than another one, they're still clapping them on and really motivating them. And I think that can transfer to like the classroom and having the confidence to help other students as well.
I think it prepares them greatly. Life is hard, it's challenging. You have ups, you have downs, you have good days, you have bad days, you have fantastic days. But I think what sets all of us apart is knowing how to utilize some of the lows of life to conquer them to actually reach the highs of life. And that's really important. It's important that our students can see how they are going to accomplish a goal from a sports perspective, knowing that they may not have the same skill set as another person. But if they work hard, if they give it their best, and then some, they can be on top. And so that's really inspiring to me, and I hope that it transcends what they're able to do through not just academics, but sports.
At this time, I'd like to ask students if we could start with Lila, and then we're going to get an alphabetical order all the way through Lucy. So if you could just stand right on this side over here. So come on up, and we'll go from Lila all the way to Lucy in alphabetical order by your last name. So you can stand right here.
First.
Yeah.
Tate is first.
Oh.
And then Laura.
It's Tate first. Oh, okay.
Elila's fourth.
Oh, well, I had a different order. Oh, my goodness. Well, you know what? How about this? You're all standing here. When you hear your name, you can stand up. This is called flexibility. So,
okay.
Yep.
All right, so Tate. Thank you. Laura Byer. I hope I said that. What? Castangai? I'm so sorry if I said that wrong. Fiona Feeney. Haley Fishburne. Anna Cross. Jalen Hammersley. Athena Hassler. No, not okay. Valen Novotny. Is that right?
back for a photograph. Do we have anyone else, coaches, anyone else in the room that we need to call up? But definitely Principal Caputer and Principal Christian, come on up. And John, we can also photograph.
Runners to lane. Wait, you guys are gonna have to go.
Squeeze in just a
You
little
need like
bit.
two a row.
I wonder if we could get some of
Could we get some of you in there?
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
We know that you've got good knees, so
Perfect.
you'll be fine doing that.
Not good? Perfect. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you.
There's one group of people that hasn't been recognized in the room that should be. Who's that?
Parents.
The parents. How do we give that for parents? Stand up, parents. These are the people that make it happen right here. Great. Thank you all for coming out. We'll look forward to seeing you at Julian and Brooke soon. And I know you've got a homework to do or something, right? All right. And thank you to the parents for coming out tonight. Okay, you can go on back now. We should go home. Good job.
All right. Now the room is very empty. Okay, then up next we have the special report.
Yep. So thanks, Michael will bring this up. It feels like there's nobody here.
I know, like really emptied out.
Okay, great. And Michael, let's see, can I grab that picture from you?
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. All right, well, I'm glad to be here. It's a 120-day update and reflection. So you know that we had the 60-day, the 90-day, and this is the 120-day. And so the purpose of these updates is really to respond to some of the feedback and some of the, asks during the search, even to share information and to be as transparent as possible about where we are. And so I thought I'd take the opportunity of this transition into the role to do that and to share my thinking and what I'm learning as I get to know the district. And so today, and every time I've started with a word in Gujarati, and actually that last character should not be there. So my mom and dad would be horrified because it is incorrect. But the word up there is pariksha, which is an exam or an assessment. So that last character shouldn't be there, it's pariksha. And the reason I chose this is because it is kind of report card season. This report card, the national report card, just came out yesterday, actually, looking at the NAEP scores across the country. The Illinois State report card will be released on the 27th. And in addition to the summative designations, it will have information on the equity journey continuum and really reflecting the state's commitment to make sure that we are improving both in the aggregate and also when we disaggregate and think about historically underserved students and students who we know that we need to have our attention on as school districts and schools. So that releases later this week. And then of course in our own district we have parent-teacher conference is happening this week. And across all of these situations, whenever we have data like this, the questions are those ones that are on the right there. Always thinking about what is that goal and what does the evidence demonstrate about how we are, where we are in the progress toward that goal, and what are our next steps. And so what I thought I'd do, and what's on my mind, is pieces of our culture and aspects of our practice that are related to this whole experience of assessment and report cards and getting feedback on where we are. And all of it is about partnerships, and that in our report cards, for example, and when parents are visiting our schools this week, it's really about that partnership between the family, the school, and the student's experience. This is a big part of also improving schools and school districts, the partnerships between those building leadership teams. At the district level, we have different advisory groups and bodies and committees. How do we all come together to lift the floor and achieve our goals? Also, clarity of purpose, making sure that we're not just going through the motions, but knowing what is that goal? What is it that we're trying to achieve and why? Why is it important? That there's standards and that we're not kind of talking randomly of I'm good at math or I know how to read, but really what are those markers of what excellence is and how are we making sure that we're using those to define what mastery looks like. And that conversation and that learning and that sharing happens based on evidence. Again, not based on relationships or on other things that are also part of the process and part of the partnership, but really being able to give good data and evidence to make the claims that we make about where we are in progress toward a goal. And that means giving clear feedback and making sure that feedback allows somebody to understand better and feel excited about their next steps and about getting better. And that requires really good coaching, which is an art and a craft and something that in our district we are investing in, we have been investing in, and we're going to continue to invest in that practice, that when we sit down to give feedback, when we sit down with our students, when we are teaching and learning, that there's an experience of all of this being about getting better and learning together, and that results in a sense of ownership about our own practice and our own agency to make a difference in whatever goal it is that we set for ourselves. These are the kinds of ideas that are on my mind, and they are related to the district's absolute, explicit commitment to equity. And I think sometimes we underestimate how much, for example, those standards have to do with that. And those ideas really undergird our priorities that we've outlined for the year. Though some of those ideas that I just mentioned are central to this understanding of how do we create a culture in which we ask good questions, where we figure stuff out together, where we assume maybe I missed something, where we create safe and healthy schools, both physically safe, virtually safe, as well as psychologically safe, and where we kind of figure stuff out and design different and new ideas and new ways of getting those standards and providing access and universal access through differentiated ways of learning. So all of those ideas that I just walked through are related and intersect with our priorities of the year. So I wanted to pull one area kind of out and look at it a little bit more closely because it is on my mind this time of year. Standards-based learning, evaluation, and coaching. And these are slides actually from our teaching and learning team. Last week hosted a webinar for families around assessments. And so I've grabbed some of the same slides from that presentation to kind of identify in this next couple slides here. So when we talk about those standards, for students, those educational standards really tell us what should students know and be able to do at each grade level. It makes explicit those expectations so that we can design into them and hold ourselves accountable for supporting students and students holding themselves accountable for achieving them. And so here's a sample standard that the team had pulled out and walked through in this parent seminar, and this is a 5th grade reading for informational text standard. So you can see here really understanding what are those steps on that learning trajectory to achieve that standard, which is what's in the long rectangular box. Explain how an author uses reasons and evidence to support particular points in a text, identifying which reasons and evidence support which points. So thinking about the different building blocks underneath there that students need to be able to do in order to achieve that larger standard. Knowing the difference between what information is relevant and irrelevant evidence. Being able to identify relevant evidence and being able to really demonstrate and explain why does it support a point. How does the evidence line up to the point that's being made? And then being able to explain how that evidence supports what the author is saying. So you can see the complexity of what a teacher needs to think about in their design and all the different elements of what it means when you achieve that standard. There's a lot of expertise, both in creating the conditions for students to learn it, as well as in learning it itself. And while this is about reading, we can see how these skills are so important to analyzing what students see on the news, what they might hear or see on their phones, that this bar around literacy and around being a skilled and expert reader has everything to do with what we need our students to be able to do at 5th grade in order to really be on the path to being productive and critical citizens in our democracy. That is related. Those big ideas are related to standards-based instruction. The other thing, so this is a slide that the team had. I put it here because I love that this is all accessible to you as parents and to members of the community. And one of the things that we are going to really think about is how, under the work of being a learning designer, do we use these standards to have new pathways for parents and community members to be partners with us in making sure that we're leveraging all of those standards-based learning experiences that exist outside of school. Because not all of this happens, nor does it have to happen within school. So how do we leverage all those opportunities by making these standards the infrastructure for achieving equity across all students and all communities? So the other thing is that this concept kind of is nested. And so for teachers, the Danielson framework for teaching is essentially a set of standards, and it provides a foundation for instructional practice, as well as a philosophical kind of approach to understanding and defining what great teaching and learning looks like. So the Danielson framework is designed around 4 domains: planning and preparation. Domain 2 is that learning environment. What's that feeling in that classroom, that sense, that culture of learning in the classroom? Domain 3 is around those learning experiences and the design of that instruction, the kinds of questions we ask, how do we assess? And then domain 4 is really around that reflective practice and making sure that we're continuously improving and really reflecting the very best of our field. And so what we want is to really support teachers and to learn with each other and to reflect on our practice and to get better and better all the time at what's defined in the framework for teaching so that the students can achieve those standards. And then likewise for administrators, the Illinois Performance Standards for School Leaders provide a foundation for school improvement and for really defining what excellent leadership looks like. So those standards, there are 6 of them. They also have standards and components and rubrics underneath them, and they can serve as the infrastructure also for great reflection and ownership of our own improvement when we use them as a lens through which to reflect on what it is we do every day as administrators. So all of these are nested systems, and they're the stuff with which we can achieve our most ambitious goals. And so one of the questions I'm asking and thinking about is, what are the other areas of our district work in which this kind of standards might support partnership, that should say clarity of purpose, evidence-based action, clear feedback, shared ownership, and equity for improved performance? Where are some other places where we need to be even more clear about what it is that we're setting out to do and how it is that we're going to achieve that? And so that's some of the things I'm thinking about here at 120 days. And so I'll be back at 150 days with some new and other thoughts to share, but that's what I wanted to share with you today. So as always, I'm so grateful to be here. And if the board has any questions, I think I usually just kind of keep moving, but we do have time if there are any questions I can answer.
Are we mostly using the Illinois Learning Standards for students, or are we also using Common Core?
We're using the Illinois Learning Standards as our primary standards around which we teach and learn.
Must be pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, and so that even you can see the Common Core standards cited within the Illinois Learning Standards. So when the Common Core standards came out, I think there was a lot of controversy, and so each state also, they're cross-referenced, but we do technically use the Illinois Learning Standards. Questions? Okay, thank you.
Up next, we have consent agenda. Someone could read the motion.
I move that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Ross Jones?
Yes.
Hart Johnson?
Yes.
Kent Hall?
Yes.
Spurlock?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Moore? Yes. Motion passed.
Okay. Up next, that brings us to the ISD board resolution discussion. I don't really have a structure for this, so I don't know if folks want to bring up resolutions they want to talk about, or if we go through each one. We don't have to make a final decision today. We have to do it by the next meeting so that Venus can represent us at the NASB, is that what that is? The National Committee, or the whatever, the Illinois delegation. So do you want me to go through each one and people kind of discuss it, or do folks want to highlight the ones?
Well, there's only 8. Maybe we could just do a quick, what?
I know, there's only 8.
I thought there were 16.
Maybe we could, what?
Well, they're the ones they chose not to present, so I don't know if those.
Oh, the new resolution.
So maybe we could just do a quick hand count, and if we're split on any, we can talk about them, but if we're all moving in the same direction, we can just move on.
Raising our hands means we would agree with what they recommend.
I might say all in favor, and then you could, or I could say all opposed. I'm comfortable either way.
That works for me.
Or I could say who's a yes.
So you're, just to be clear so that everyone knows how they're voting, so they're the ones that are recommended by that. So are we saying whether or not we go with that resolution or whether or not we agree to that I was gonna say, I think what I'm hearing from Shella is, are we saying whether or not, I know this is complicated, whether or not we agree with what you want?
Do we support the resolution?
Resolution, right, okay.
No, do we support the resolution committee's recommendation?
Well, no, so I guess.
I'm saying do we support the resolution?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in some instances, the committee's recommendation is to not support.
Right.
Yes. So at the risk of confusing us with double negatives, why don't we just go with yes or no on the resolution?
All right, the number one, the fund balance one, folks vote yes. Maybe if you just disagree, you can shout out. Number 2.
What do you mean by disagree?
If you say no, I don't, you know what, never mind, whatever, we're just
With
gonna
the
keep fumbling
majority?
through this. Number 2, alternative fuel school bus funding,
Yes.
I said yes,
Yes.
which is not what they recommended.
I feel like it needs more clarity about equity on it, but conceptually, I could disagree.
It would be nice if they provided an explanation why
Their
they should or
rationale.
don't recommend.
They
Yeah,
do at the
rationale.
end.
They do at the end.
But they didn't clarify funding for costs, that was the big
Yeah.
issue. Number 3, firearms, I said yes.
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 Yes, I say yes.
Okay. Number 4, capital grant fund,
Yes.
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 You should be
I'm
writing
sorry.
this down,
I was like, why don't I see your pen?
Venus, I emailed you.
You
them,
did,
and
but
If
that's
it doesn't
you.
come up the same, I'll tell you.
So far, 1 through 4 are
Yeah.
yes.
Oh.
1 through 4 yes. 5, school safety fund.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
okay. Number 6, I was a little confused, but I put no.
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 Okay. Number 7, mandates review, I said yes.
I said no. But I don't, I mean, I
Number
don't,
7?
It was
I
messy.
said yes.
I said yes.
I don't feel strongly.
I don't know, fine, okay. And then number 8, financial contributions, I said yes.
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 And
So
we
Venus,
don't-
it's yes for everything except number 6.
1 through 5, and then 7 and 8 are yes, and 6 is no.
Number 6 is a no.
Yes, I mean, yeah, correct. That is a no.
And what are 7 and 8?
Yes, they were all yes except for 6. I spent all this time Googling the charter ones, because I was curious. All right, any other questions or discussion, I guess, on that one? Nope. Venus, do you need anything else?
No, I don't exactly know how all this works, but there's a whole list of ones that are do not present. Do we know why?
They decided that they were duplicative of other things, or that already exist. If you go down through, the reason they decided not to present in most of them is they think it's already covered by something else. Or they actually took it and incorporated it back up, like where you see some underlines in some of the resolutions at the top.
Which is interesting, because looking at the moment, I was like not sure that I would agree with that, but.
That they incorporated it, that they edited it to.
Yeah, I was really intrigued by the weird one, that there were 3 resolutions brought forward by Woodland Community Schools around a charter school specifically in that community. And I was Googling it, it's gone back like over a decade, and it's interesting. Okay, then I think that brings us to board assignments. Unless you need anything else, you know? No, okay. So we have FAC, Pork, CCE, or Plain.
I'd like to not go to this meeting alone, but whatever.
Do you need someone to go with you to which meeting?
So what?
Do you not have a second person?
What are we talking about?
Oh, the IAS being.
Yes.
I will not be in state.
You keep saying that.
That's why I've never gone, I'm always at a conference.
What day is it?
I don't know. Monday.
November
It's always like the weekend before Thanksgiving.
Always the weekend.
Yeah, I'm not
Did you
doing
register somebody?
You should have gotten the email confirmation. I registered you.
Let me check. Okay, moving on.
Anyone else?
Nancy and I went last year.
All right, so no standing board committees.
Well, Fork is next Wednesday and talk about the tax levy presentation. Nancy attended FAC on behalf of us.
And all of a sudden I'm blanking because I did not bring it with me.
She's
So
did everything.
we went over the priorities for the year, so that will be coming forward, I believe, soon. I'm kind of looking over here and looking over here. So yes, so be on the lookout for the updated priorities of where we are. I think that's the best, good quick summary of where we are with that.
November 15th.
November 15th, yep, thank you.
Intergovernmental liaison reports. The collaboration has a meeting on Wednesday. We haven't met in a while, so I'll give a report at the next meeting. How about IGov, PTOC, et cetera, et cetera?
I attended PTOC last, whatever, I don't remember what day it was.
Tuesday.
Wednesday. It was Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? Okay.
Wednesday.
PTOC, and they had, well, Dr. Shaw and Dr. Lofton, Dr. Camp, like our whole crew of admin team folks presented to the room of PTO presidents and the 3 PTO co-chairs, or 2 co-chairs and coordinator. And then they broke out and kind of had some conversations amongst themselves, sharing ideas. It was a nice meeting. It was the first in-person meeting we've had in 2 years, and they used the admin, this room, and they really appreciated that. And a good opportunity if they're gonna do the rest virtually, except for the last meeting, they'll come back and do again.
There's no other report?
Wait, so OPEF, just a quick heads up, they're already planning for base camp next year. They are still working through being in the schools, that's been ramping up well. But a heads up for everyone who may be already thinking about those summer camps, that they are shifting their registration format to Amelia, which is the same one the Park District uses. So this will hopefully facilitate everyone registering for all these activities for students.
Thanks. That brings us to board remarks. I can do a report out. I went to Bloomington today for a statewide literacy summit, which was interesting. I wasn't really sure what to expect. So I know we've talked at the board table about some of the various literacy initiatives passing through legislation statewide in other states. So I think ISB was trying to come to some sort of, I don't want to say consensus because it wasn't that, but like kind of statewide discussion around literacy initiatives, and it was interesting because even there was some discussion, I met with some folks as part of Ed Red to talk about kind of what might be happening at the summit and what might come out of it. And so there was even, there's a lot of speculation as to even who the speakers were going to be, because it's pretty divided in terms of literacy around science of reading and people who don't necessarily align themselves that way. And so they had a national panel this morning. One is David Pearson, who's been around forever. He's a huge literacy giant. Jody Slavic, who's at UC Boulder, and he's professor emeritus at Berkeley. And then Nicole Terry Patton, who's at Florida State. And they kind of talked about what they saw as the big trends in literacy, their understandings of some of the issues. It was pretty good in terms of they talked broadly about literacy and the needs for successful implementation without getting into kind of the weeds around science of reading. I did appreciate David Pearson made a statement talking about, I liked his quote. Let's see, what did he say? Oh, he said, "We must make sure science is not employed in any way to enforce structural racism. This is an ethical and scientific responsibility." And so there's been a lot of he talked a lot about what do we mean when we talk about science, and the different ways in which science can be interpreted, kind of his own take on that, and the ways in which the factions around literacy have divided out around some disciplinary backgrounds and how folks understand the teaching and learning of reading. And then we did a lot of breakout sessions, and there was a lot of good discussions. I thought it was kind of funny that it was a little further downstate because it seemed like everybody was from the Chicago area. So I'm like, oh, we all drove 2 hours to be here. But a lot of, like, there were both folks in district offices, higher ed, and teachers, like coaches and things. And so people were talking about kind of the frameworks around literacy, what they're trying to do. I think regardless of whether it's literacy or not, there was a lot of discussion about embedded ongoing professional development, coaching, access to quality resources, and then time was the biggest one, which we were all joking, like, you know, money is time, and everybody wishes they had more. The other thing I was really impressed by, both with the summit and the speakers, is they're addressing issues around what literacy looks like for multilingual learners, students with IEPs, and there was a faction of folks who are also talking about gifted education, which is a population that's not often discussed, so that was really interesting. And so there were a number of people in my small groups that were there, that their focus was multilingual learners. And I was excited that the CPS Director of Literacy, Jane Fleming, was there. And so there were some pretty interesting folks. So that was my day. And then the other piece, I meant to send you guys a link, is, I don't know if you saw, but Nichelle Stigger, who's a English teacher at Brooks, was interviewed by NPR or WBEZ to talk about the Teach Act, and she talked about like the anti-racist curriculum and things like that, which was pretty neat. If anyone wants me to send a link, I can dig it up.
Yes, if we could send that later. Is it up, is that available on the district website?
I do know that, I don't know if it's on our district website, but we can definitely make sure everybody gets it.
We sent it out in our newsletter last week.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, there were some nice shots of kids in the classroom. I was like, why is it my daughter? But it was nice just to have, because they featured 2 schools. One was, I think, Skinner on the north side, which has a more significant Asian American population, and specifically a parent that does a lot of work around Asian American history. And so Nichelle, I think, or like Oak Park was kind of a suburban school, and so it was interesting to have a less significant Asian American population, but her still making connections, and then the kids in the classroom talking about how they still related to their own experiences. So that's neat.
And it wasn't only a quote, there was actually a photo too of Nichelle, so. That's the one.
Cool.
Their board comments.
So go ahead.
So surprisingly, I had a long discussion with someone about literacy as well. So Yvette Mans is in Georgia, and she like creates curriculum, and she also is like literacy coach, and that's her area of expertise. And I was sharing with her some really great feedback that I got from my daughter's school. Like, it was the longest email ever on a Saturday, very detailed about next steps and just all these things. And I was really impressed that my daughter's teacher went through those lengths. Because I was worried. I was like, she wrote this story, and it was like, I was like, oh my God, something's wrong with her. He was like, no. And he explained like everything they're doing, how they're doing it, where she is. And so I was sharing that with her, and then she had a lot of good feedback. She gave me questions to ask during parent-teacher conferences. And so I asked her if it would be okay to share. So I just shared her link with the 2 of you, and talking about culturally relevant literacy. And then also I was telling her about our discussion about the curriculum. And I was like, as someone who's not in that space, I felt like super clueless. I was like, because there are pros and cons to both. And so she gave some good feedback, and so it might be worth having her as a resource. So that was an unexpected Atlanta visit. And then also just want to plug really quickly, we're doing trunk or treating this Friday. Hopefully it's not raining and cold again. So if anyone is able to join us or donate candy or decorations that you have that you don't want to use in your house, we would greatly appreciate it. And that's going to be Original Commons from 5 to 7.
So we have to be there at 5. It's at 5:30 to 7 for people to come by.
Correct.
So my quick request is I would love to request that in the near future we get an update about where we are with planning as we head into the fall and winter COVID, flu, all the pandemic-y type stuff hitting season. One quick thing I realized from fact that I will throw in as an aside on this is that related, we got back all of our air quality checks, and they passed with flying colors. We are doing a great job with that, and I just think as we move into the season where some of these things are going to ramp up, it might behoove us to have a quick update on where we stand with planning for the district.
Sure, we can do that.
And one quick thing that I meant to raise weeks ago, which is Irving Trivia Night is a week from Thursday. So super short notice, I apologize. I think there is a slot for one team, so if folks are interested in trying to get a team together again this year, Ira's also welcome. Again, other honorary
Not you,
members.
Charlotte. Yeah, exactly.
Charlotte's always welcome, that goes without saying.
But you don't have to bring Ira.
So just, if you are interested, let me know ASAP, and I will see if I can get us a slot.
A week from Thursday?
a week from Thursday, November 3rd. And I know last year we only extended to board, but if other folks want to join, I know we've got at least one other trivia person. Maybe a couple, so.
Who are you talking about, Jeannie?
You know, Amanda mentioned after the last one that she
What's the date?
competes in trivia, so.
Amanda
It's November
maybe.
3rd.
Maybe
Amanda may have her hands full.
Or
The baby might
maybe you
contribute.
do, and a really good story to share. Anyway, so if folks are interested, let me know. I'm happy to get us a slot, and I think we had a fun time last time, and I've heard that they're gonna fix the sound system, so if we get the back corner and they do a name that tune category again, we may actually be able to hear the music, which I think is what kept us off the podium last time, so.
Can I be a tentative? I'm trying to get my husband because he's really good at sports and random knowledge. But we have to get somebody to watch the unemployed people.
All right. So maybe try to let me know like by Thursday if you can. And if we get enough people, I'll just reserve it. And it's right down the block from you.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. I'll be there
Same
to
place as last year.
spectate.
Actually, I think that's the same night as the Bravo performance. That's
I was
my
gonna
holiday.
say.
Oh, is that right?
It's
Oh,
the,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Although
there are
conflict,
two
or else I would be there.
performances.
All right.
Is it at the same place then?
Yes, it is. On Trattoria 225 on Harrison.
Any other board comments or solicitations? No? All right, then we'll just do a quick voice vote for to close at 8 o'clock. All say A?
Yes.
Yes.
A. Thank you.
Thank you.